everyone, I'm here in my lockdown kitchen. I'm going to talk to you today about archaeology, the basics. We're going to look at 4 key themes very briefly. We're going to cover what is archaeology, number 1. And secondly, we're going to, and people ask me this all the time, how do you know where to dig? We're going to look at 3 key ways. Thirdly, we're going to look at the kind of objects that we find, you know, the treasure. What do we do with them? How old are they? And how do we know this? And number 4, the story of the site. How do we tell the story of what we've found? Now, archaeology. Archaeology is nothing to do with dinosaurs. It's a study of the human past. We have to remember the key thing is essentially it's a very destructive pursuit. Once you've excavated a site, like Gareth here, excavating my cobbles at Strata Florida Abbey, once he's done that, he's essentially destroyed that part of the site. So we need to preserve the record of that site by making a paper record. And that concept is known as preservation by record. We need to plan, draw, record everything. How do we know where to dig in the first place, though? Old maps. Old maps are my thing, okay? I am an old map fiend. Over here you can see late 19th century map of the old Cistercian Abbey Church, and there's a little Cadou museum here. You can go and have a cup of tea, look at their exhibition. But this field's empty, the late 1900s. Over here, though, if we look at this map a little bit earlier, 1765, the same field's chock-a-block with stuff. There's an orchard, there are field boundaries, there are little enclosures, and there's a little building complex here. Can you see? 2 buildings next to each other. Super useful. The second way we know how to dig, or where to dig, is geophysical survey. This is a geophysical survey of the same field. And yes, we've found lots of disturbance here where that building was on the map. But amazingly, we've found other features in that field. There's a huge building complex here. Absolutely enormous, the same size as the modern farm, and another one down here by the river. We didn't know anything about them. They must be earlier than 1765 because they weren't on the map. And we can see we've drawn them onto this interpretation plan here. Buildings probably relating to the medieval occupation of the abbey by the Cistercians. We also like to use other tools such as LiDAR. These are lasers fired at the ground. Don't be alarmed, they're just lights. But they give us the lumps and bumps in the field. You can see amazing. You can see ploughing, plough marks, lumps and bumps, buried features really clearly. This line here is actually a 1950s water main, modern archaeology coming down from Tidey Lakes. And then this fantastic 2018 aerial photograph, you can see we did find a medieval gatehouse and we excavated over a number of years with students. What about our objects and artifacts then? Well, you can see assemblage of medieval ceramics here. This unprepossessing shard of pottery here is actually from southwest France, and it's known as Saintonge. There was a thriving trade between Wales and the southwest of France in the late 13th century. Interestingly, all these other bits and pieces, this pie crust jug rim down here made by pinching with a thumb, a medieval thumb, all of these bits and bobs were dated by our ceramics experts to the late 13th century, and they were all found in the same layer at the bottom of a ditch. All of the layers above that then were progressively later and later, and that's known as stratigraphy. We can use these ceramics to reconstruct people's culture, their behavior, their motives, and the agency of individuals back into the Middle Ages. Fantastic assemblage. Finally, then, the story. There's no point digging anything up unless you tell people what you found. And as an archaeologist, you have a responsibility to do that. This is this is a really nice spread that Countryfile did for us in 2019. Beautiful. You can see the Abbey there, the Abbey ruins, and the beautiful Cambrian Mountains. And there's me at the bottom down here, kneeling in a muddy ditch, showing my treasure to Fergus Collins. Get the press involved. They will be your friends. Yes, you have to write a boring report about the artifacts that you found, but the press are your friends. Get them involved. Release a press statement. Get local TV involved. let's just go over quickly what we've discovered. Is your dig feasible? Do you have permissions? Do you have access? Decide where you want to dig, secondly, and why. Do your research. Number 3, get your equipment lined up. Do you need to do geophysical survey? Fourthly, ask yourself, what are you going to do if you find something really amazing? Have you got the funds in place for a big conservation job? Make contact with your local museum. And finally then, what is the story of your site? Think about who you're going to tell and why. Do you need a website? Are you going to write a blog? Do you have a Facebook page so that you can get your story out to the wider community? Thank you for that. That's all for today. Remember, great researchers make the best archaeologists. So get out there and get looking at old maps, and I will see you here next time. Thank you.